Great to have the legendary writer Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News with us every week on Coast to Coast. You can also catch him during the college basketball season on Fox Sports. He's a heavy hitter there as well. We got a double shot with Mike today, thank God. So, Mike, I want to start with the U.S. soccer situation. I'm under the impression that Klopp turned him down already. He's not interested in coaching the U.S. team. We were just talking about it, and it was from Gabe's perspective that he didn't want that on his resume because even he doesn't think he could fix that team. He doesn't want it to hurt his legacy. Do you believe that? And what are they going to look for now after they've made this move? Who could they possibly get to make them look better in the World Cup than they've looked in the Copa? The Copa was really kind of embarrassing.
Well, I think Klopp made it clear that he needed a break. He'd spent a lot of years at a high-end club, and he needed time off to just be a person. And I get that. And I think what the U.S. thought was they have nothing to lose by taking that shot, and that they could perhaps convince him that the grind of being a manager at an elite Champions League level club is much different than being the head coach of a men's national team. Now, every 4 years or every 2 years, you're going to have an intense amount of scrutiny, but that's really it. It's not like you have to be on the job 24/7, 365 days a year. Maybe you get a week off of vacation or whatever if you're managing Manchester City or Manchester United, or in his case, Liverpool. But it's really a grind. But ultimately, I think that's what dissuaded him, is he just had enough. And I imagine he may come back at some point to manage, and maybe the U.S. missed their window, but this was the only window that they would have had a shot. They needed to take this chance on Klopp. They didn't move Berhalter because they were trying to get Klopp. They were trying to get Klopp because they had moved Berhalter and had every intention of that after the failure of the Copa America tournament.
Well, the guy that runs USA Soccer is the guy that brought him back. And now he's left with the keys to the car of having to choose again. And, I mean, what's your opinion of what he did the first time? It was failure, wasn't it? And now he's in charge of making it again?
It was a mistake, but he also hired the best women's club coach in the world, in Emma Hayes, to coach the women's national team. So people kind of want to forget that because they think that the men are the only program that matters. Certain people, I should say. He also hired Emma, and she's expected to do wonderful things with the U.S. I thought that at the time it was the right choice, but in examining what developed afterward, you saw how the players took advantage of the situation. And maybe it should have been anticipated they would take advantage of the situation, because they're all still kids. And they acted like kids. They're all basically 25 years old, and they were handed an inordinate amount of power because they were the ones who were basically the reason that Berhalter was brought back. They wanted him. They thought the culture of the team worked well with him, and they wanted to continue under him. And then instead of saying, okay, we got your back, coach, they said, hey, coach, we got your job back. So now we can do whatever. And you had Sergiño Dest getting himself thrown out of a game for a minor over disappointment at a minor call down in Trinidad. It didn't hurt the team ultimately, other than making the other 10 players work that much harder for 70 minutes or 60 minutes. But they were able to advance in the Nations League. But in the Copa America, you saw some physical activity on the part of Panama, which was absolutely anticipated. Berhalter told all the players that it's how Panama would play them. And the first chance that Timothy Weah got, he was found with having shoved an opposing player in the back and thrown out of the game. And that's how they repaid Greg Berhalter. That's how they rewarded Greg Berhalter. So you couldn't keep him if the players weren't going to respect him. You need to bring somebody in who doesn't know any of those players anything, and who says, look, I'm in charge. You're great at your club, or you're a player at one of the big clubs. Terrific. Can't wait to see you in camp. Maybe you'll get a job. But no more, hey, you play at Juventus? Okay, you're in the lineup. That's got to be over.
Wow. And I think you're right. Now, far be it from me to understand who they would turn to now. They have to have a list of potential coaches because they went for the gusto. It didn't work. Now, where do they go?
Well, there's some significant accomplished coaches out there in a variety of venues. David Wagner, former USMNT player at 8 caps, has coached in the Premier League and the Bundesliga. He's somebody that they could go after. He's been over in Europe coaching at a really high level. Hasn't always been successful, but has coached at a really high level. Jose Peckerman, who did great things with Colombia's national team, among others. He's somebody that they could turn to. I don't believe he has a position at the moment. Hervé Renard, who we saw coaching Saudi Arabia at the World Cup, who has coached in the women's national teams as well. He's someone that people have talked about. Or they could go with somebody who hasn't coached internationally and has mostly coached at the club level, like Wilfried Nancy at Columbus, who's done a phenomenal job with the Crew. He would be an interesting choice. His teams are really beautiful to watch. They're very organized. They're the reigning champion of Major League Soccer. The downside of hiring Nancy at this point is that lack of international soccer experience, and they need somebody who has shown that they can win at the World Cup. I think that has to be the priority right now, is getting someone in who can connect with the players and make sure they know who's in charge, but also who has shown that he or she can win at the World Cup level.
Wow. So the best coach in the MLS, who might be the hottest commodity, has never coached in a World Cup or internationally in big games. So they can't go with him. They have to go with someone that has that moxie, that's done it, that's been there. We had talked about earlier the guy Lowe, wasn't he with Germany for a while?
Yes.
What about him?
Yogi Lowe.
He's certainly got the skill and the chops.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, and he would be an interesting sell to both the players and to the United States. He's a different guy, and I think if you were going to hire Yogi Lowe, you would have to have an interesting staff around him, a very experienced staff, an accomplished staff. Lowe did some wonderful things with Germany. There's no doubt about that. Won the World Cup, and he is available as well, much like Peckerman, currently unattached. Certainly somebody that I would look at for sure. But as I said, he is different. He's not. He would be it'd be an interesting hire based on who he is.
Not a problem though if they're foreign to these American kids.
No, most of them play for managers who are not necessarily American. Whether it's within their clubs, both here in the United States, we have in MLS some coaches who are internationals, as well as overseas. Certainly, you've got coaches at Juventus or at AC Milan, in the Premier League that are or Bundesliga that are not necessarily American. And these players all respect what they do and have to follow their orders. So I don't think that would necessarily be a problem. And honestly, with a big chunk of the fan base, being American almost excludes you now. I don't think the U.S. Soccer Federation will think that way. But I think a lot of the fans want to see someone who isn't American in that position. I think that's rather ridiculous. But again, there aren't that many who meet the standard that I talked about before of having won World Cup or international big tournaments.